And so for
Really?
absolutely.
Why?
Well, if you look at it demographically in the state of Washington, I think our numbers decreased from almost 10% to I think it's 4.9
In terms of the overall population.
overall population of African Americans or
We're,
those who claim African American status.
okay.
Yes.
So we're leaving the state?
We're leaving the state in droves.
Really?
Absolutely. And part of that, think about it, the cost of living. I've been here my whole life. I won't say how long that is, but I've been here my whole life and I've seen the transition and I've seen the cost of living increase. And when you talk about looking for work, when you talk about employment, gainful employment, a living wage, for black folks, people of color, sometimes we lower the standard and expectation for what is. And we do that because we don't see people in positions to aspire to. And so for that reason alone, that's why this important or this appointment is important because growing up, I didn't see people looking who looked like me in these types of roles. I didn't know it was possible. I didn't even think about it. I thought my only role, the only thing that I could aspire to outside of being a professional athlete, and not just that, but in athletics, was to be a coach. I didn't think about the administrative side. I didn't think about general manager. I didn't think about the oversight of rules and governing body. And so now when I look back on that, if I had seen people who looked like me when I was in high school, I might have said, I'd like to do that one day, as opposed to, maybe I'd like to coach one day. Because for me, being able to be in a leadership role and helping people realize their goals and dreams was important to me. And it's always been something that, I've seen, whether I was part of a team and bringing along those that weren't as maybe talented and just saying, hey, you got this. You can do it. To empower them to say, maybe I can. And so I've always been that person to look at and say, we're only as strong as our weakest link. And weakest in the sense not so much as talent, but also mindset. So how do we get the right mindset to get out here and compete?
So, but in your role with the WIAA, does that make you visible to the young men and women coming along? Because, I mean, I get that growing up in Tacoma, and, Lincoln was considered the black school in Tacoma back then. But I looked at my yearbook, my senior year, there wasn't a single African American teacher on staff. There wasn't a single African American in the cooking staff, in the kitchen staff, or the custodial staff. There was two African American counselors, Mr. Glenn and Ms. Tuggle, and we didn't have a single African American on the coaching staff. And I was the only African American on the yearbook staff. But we were seen as the black school because many of the stars athletically were black, but there were only two blacks on the basketball team that went to state. So I looked at it, I said, man, I can't believe how white we were. But in terms of how you see it, we saw it blacker than it really was. Coming up in Washington, I couldn't have imagined as a teenager ever having a black mayor. And yet there's a black mayor now. There've been a black mayor before. I never could imagine a black mayor of Seattle. And we're on our second one now. And so it seems that there have been some gains and yet there's some losses. It's the best of times and worst of times all at the same time. So you being on the WIA, moving into rules and management and stuff, are you visible enough to where that sends a message to black kids that may be seeing something different?
Well, the visibility, so that is my additional role. So that's not all I do. I'm still the director of athletics with Seattle Public Schools. And we're the largest school district here in the state. And so that visibility transcends. We oversee the Metro League, which that's 18 schools. We have 11.
Oh, so you're still running that?
Yes.
So you're the HNIC.
Well, sure. What I can tell you is that in leadership, you realize the importance and the value that you have. And it's not about you. It's not about what Tara's doing. It's about creating programming for our students to actively participate and engage in a meaningful way.
So, what are the big challenges facing athletics in Seattle Public Schools, and furthermore within Washington State? What are the big issues that are kind of percolating like a pot of coffee?
Well, I think it transcends. I mean, if you think about it from a national standpoint, there's conversation about, eliminating the educational department, right? And with that, well, if you talk about taking money away from education, well, we're educational-based athletics. So we're an offset. That's what I say. We're an extension of the classroom.
What would the impact be if they were successful at getting rid of the education department, which also will go with it, Pell Grants, Head Start, which are levers of rise? I think they know who depends on those programs, so they know what they're doing.
Well, absolutely. And it's not just that, the education, but then what are the offsets? All the extracurricular activities. So those go away. Now what are our students, what are they doing? What types of activities are they engaging in? What type of programming is available for our young people?
So if the Department of Education goes away, there's no football team or basketball team at Lincoln or Garfield?
Correct. We're educational-based athletics. How do we operate?
So the federal government pays for those sports programs?
So we're funded partially by the federal government and then also raising money. So you say, what's the hardest part right now? Finance. We don't have enough money to run our programs in the way we should. Right? Giving back to our kids, providing opportunities for our kids, transportation for our kids. So as we continue to move forward, we're losing traction in the sense of right now my teams can't get yellow buses. My teams are getting charter buses. Charter buses are 3 times that of yellow buses. So what does that do for our budget? And what does that do for our students' ability?
You want to get yellow buses?
We want to get yellow buses because
they're cheaper.
They are.
Okay.
We need transportation, safe transportation.
Not amenities that are blowing your budget.
Not at all.
Because I remember we rode around in yellow buses. We didn't get the bougie stuff.
No. But right now what we have to do, because we have a limitation, there's a capacity challenge with yellow buses. And so we're getting charter buses. And so for us in charter buses, by the time we finish winter season, our budget's almost gone.
Was it this way when we were in school? I mean, when I was in high school in the 70s and you were in high school in the 60s, was it that way?
Well, you have to remember, in high school, there's no transportation now. All high school students who need transportation rely on our city transportation, Metro services.
To go to games? You're talking about just to get to school?
To get to school.
Okay.
Yes. So if we rely on...
Wait a minute. You said there's no school buses anymore?
There's no school buses for our middle school students and our high school students.
In the Seattle Public School System?
In Seattle Public Schools. There's some in our middle school, and for service, we have buses, but in our high schools, there are no buses.
When did that happen?
That is a great question. I know when I got back to the district back in 2012, we didn't have bus transportation for our high school students. And we have a huge challenge with truancy. Exactly.
So they're catching city buses?
They are catching city buses, and we offer that free transportation for city buses. The challenge with that is it's not a direct route. And so where your bus picks you up at a designated location and drops you directly in front of the school, now you may have to travel downtown, transfer, then get on a bus. For our students in West Seattle, that's a challenge. That route is tough. For our students who live or who are in the South End, it's not a direct route.
So I actually did that in high school. In junior high, because we had junior high, not middle school, and high school was 9th, 10th, or 10th, 11th, and 12th. Because we went to the school that we were supposed to based upon address, there was a school bus. My family's high school was always Lincoln, but we lived on the other side of town. They allowed us because of the family connection to go to Lincoln, but we had to catch the city bus. So we had to catch one bus downtown and then transfer on Pacific Avenue in front of the Fun Circus and see all that stuff every day,
Right.
and then catch another bus. So I do, and yeah, it was a protracted process getting to and from school, and it impacted participation in sports and other things. You were late getting home, and you had to get up to crack of dawn to get to school. So if the Department of Education is eliminated, what's Plan B?
You know, that's a great question. We probably need to look at not if it's eliminated, what what is the plan for our young people who are high school or middle school to high school age? What are our plans for programming for them? Because right now we have high school education, middle school education, and activities, and our students are still having a tough time and challenge, and they're acting out. The health of our students right now and the population, we heard of the Kia boys. Well, those are 14 to 17-year-olds. What are they doing? Where is the programming for them? We have students, we've had incidents within our school buildings, and students are making poor choices because some of them believe, you don't care about me anyway. And you made a statement earlier about majority of our teachers, right, our educators, and they're white. Well, why is that? Because that's still the case. And when you have white educators teaching our black students and not making a connection to our black students, the number one reason when I talk to our students, I'm like, so what's going on in school? They're like, the teacher doesn't like me. Well, what does that have to do with your education? If there's not a connection, the student will not engage, therefore will not learn and get the most out of it. Majority of our students of color believe school's not for me. Well, if school's not for you, what is? So there's a sentiment right now, we're having a tough time. And for me, I tell them, the one thing that can be taken away from you is your education. Mm-hmm. I tell our student athletes, guess what? You're an injury away from being normal. And then what?
That was my story. November the 3rd, last play, last game, senior year, split my tibia and fibula bone. My entire future changed from being a D1 athlete to limping around 4 years at UPS on a half scholarship. But the grace of God was that the athletes had the same academic requirements as the non-athletes, so I actually had to study. And the injury that I had with the rehab, treatments that they had back 45 years ago, I knew that the dream was gone. And whatever I did in life, I was going to do it with my brain and not my brawn. But one play changed the trajectory of my whole life. And my passion has always been to make sure that our kids are as competitive in the classroom as they are in the athletic field, because I was not applying myself in the classroom. And I had to play catch up. I had the intelligence. I didn't have the study skills. But I had people who took me under the wing so that I didn't fall through the cracks. I was lucky. So if are there not African Americans going through the teaching programs to become teachers in Washington State? Do we not have an affirmative plan to recruit African American teachers, and I would imagine as well Hispanic American teachers, so that these children of color have role models in front of them?
So I can say there was an intentional effort when our population was higher as far as African Americans here in Washington State. You had educators that would go to conferences and would recruit from Texas or Houston, not Houston, but like DC or other spaces and places, and bring people in. And those were the implants that came in the late 70s and 80s that became teachers and educators in our spaces. The challenge is that the cost of education now is so high, and who can afford that? And for those who can afford that, many of our young people are not opting to become teachers because they've had such a tough experience in school that that's not their first choice. And so we have to play catch up, and that's what we're doing right now. And Seattle Public Schools actually has done a pretty good job in intentionality of current employees, offering them opportunities to go back to school and get their teaching credentials. And so they're doing that now. And so you can come in as a parapro and or what is it called? Instructional assistant. And then Seattle Public Schools will help you get through school and get your teaching certification and work with you there. So there are intentional efforts. It's taking some time, but we're getting people back into the district now. So that's nice. But where it is, where we currently are, so many of our young Black and brown students, they have such a tough time and experience with teachers. What they've told me, this isn't for me.
Wow. As you're listening out there in the digisphere, let your fingers do the walking along your keyboard, as they say, and send in your questions and your comments here as we are interviewing Tara Davis, who is on the board for the Washington Interscholastic Activities Association. Okay, and also the head of athletics.
I am the director. And I have an executive director, Pat McCarthy.
Okay. So my next question then would be, if our numbers, our being African American, if our numbers are shrinking statewide, but also in terms of the population of the Seattle Public Schools, I'm assuming that there's a correlation there. How does it portend that we have an African American superintendent of schools and we have an African American who's the head of athletics? So how, with those numbers, how y'all get where you are and how do you stay there?
I can say it's a long time coming. Our current superintendent is a product of Seattle Public Schools. Myself, I'm a product of Seattle Public Schools. And the reality is you continue to just move forward. There wasn't a natural trajectory. It was opportunity. It was working hard. When I actually interned, when I was getting my master's and interned in the athletic office, that's where that opportunity presented itself. And so I started with the district in 2012, and I started as a family engagement specialist at Rainier Beach High School, which was pretty nice. But it's just the consistency and understanding of you move forward in faith and recognize that it's not the work, it's not about you doing the work, it's about God doing the work through you. And my whole goal is to just get out here and be helpful. That's ultimately what it is that I like to do. Our superintendent, I know I've talked with him, and his goal is to help students, is help young people. He understands what that is, and especially growing up in this area. And so it's tough. We're the largest school district here in the state, so things don't move fast. It's like the Titanic. You know, you're looking to turn, well, you start turning, but it takes some time to get there.
Well, my daughter's in city government. She's the senior advisor for communications in the office of the mayor. So, I mean, I get an earful of what's going on in city government and so forth. And then I watch what's going on in the council and so forth. And Seattle's a place of very interesting politics. It's slippery. It's hard to get a handle on it. It can change up on you. So when it comes to dealing with like parent groups, is that a positive or a minus experience? What are the parent groups like for African American parents, majority parents? Are they a positive force or part of the conundrum?
I mean, it's a give and take. You have parents who are there and they're positive and they're supporters. And then you have parents who they need maybe some education on their expectation, because to have an expectation that you deliver your student or your child to school and the school is supposed to teach your kid, but at home you've never taught them how to be a learner. Well, now they're here in school, but you have this.
Unpack that statement. What do you mean teaching my kid how to be a learner? What does that mean?
Well, what that means is education starts at home first. That's ground zero, right? In your learning and in your understanding of authority and in respect and in when you're told to do something, a reasonable request by an adult, then you need to do that. Okay, so that's the I'm preparing you to be a learner. Now I'm going to release you, so now you can go and be taught by someone else.
So pay attention, follow instruction, do as you're told, and respect authority.
Yes.
Okay. What percentage of our students today come to school knowing how to sit still, pay attention, do as you're told, respect authority? Out of 10, how many?
I work predominantly with middle school and high school age kids. And I can tell you, when I walk into my buildings, I'm slightly appalled by the level of conversation that's happening in the hallways.
Okay.
Because in the hallways, that's where you hear certain language and certain things, things that you should probably not hear as an adult in those spaces with young people. Because back in the day, I'm not saying I was perfect, I was good, but I just knew how to code switch. And when the adults came in the room, hold on.
You know, nobody better not call your mama and tell her they heard you saying.
Absolutely. You better not call Gloria. No, no, no.
Yeah.
I knew. And it's just a level of respect. That level of respect, somehow it got missed. I hear students, as I'm talking with them, use certain language and cuss around me and other language. And I'm disappointed. And I also correct them. Hey, guys, I need you to watch your mouth. And I don't think enough adults do that. But it's our role and responsibility. Anytime you're in the space with young people, help guide them, help teach them, let them know that, look, that's not acceptable and that's not going to serve you in the future. So I will let you know. I was working with a group of students who were helping me. We work with reconditioning our helmets. And so I was at a particular school and we were working with numbering the helmets. And some of the kids came to help me with renumbering the helmets. And a few times they're out there with me, and then I hear some language and I stop and I say, gentlemen, I really enjoy you being here with me and helping me. I need you to watch your mouth. Huh, what? Well, what did I say? And I said, you probably use that language so much, you don't understand. But I'm here to tell you, I need you not to. I need you not to, because I don't want people to think, hey, there's ignorance, or start to judge you because they hear that language. I want people to see you and know who you are, because I can tell you, adults, they really, really like helping kids and students. But they like helping those that they think are respectful. And right now, the language you're using doesn't seem too respectful.
Now, that was so pretty. I would not have thought to say it that pretty. I was raised by people who weren't trying to be pretty. They just wanted you to get their point as quickly and as candidly as possible. That was pretty.
Well, you have to
write that down for me.
You have to connect before you correct, right? I needed them to know, look, I'm not judging you, but I hear this.
Yeah.
And it's not okay. And so finally, after the third reminder, one of them said, hey, man, you just said it again. And so now they're correcting each other.
Okay.
And he said, I did? I didn't even, Miss Davis, I'm sorry. I said, hey, it's okay. I just need you to be mindful.
We got some questions coming in, but I did want to, I asked you how many out of 10, you didn't give me a number.
How many out of 10? What was
how
that
many
again?
out of 10 go to school ready to sit still, pay attention, do as they're told, and respect authority?
It just depends on what environment you're in.
So you ain't gonna give me a rough number? You sound like a politician.
I can neither confirm nor deny. I would say depends on the area. It can be 7 to 10. In some areas, it might be 5 of 10. In others, it might be 3 of 10. So our teachers have a tough time.
And even if you got 8 out of 10, 2 can disrupt the classroom. Because if you got 20 students, that means you got 4 grenades in that classroom.
Indeed. Indeed, indeed. Yes. And with those grenades, because they've been conditioned to think, I had one student say, I disrupt the class because it's hard for me to read. And instead of being called on, I'd rather get kicked out because I don't want people to know I'm stupid.
Wow. Kevin, what you got for me, man?
I'm just sitting there laughing because what I heard her say was, check yourself before you wreck yourself. um, Tara, they're saying that you are one of the most decorated female athletes in history. What is the value you prioritize most?
First of all, you blew her up with that descriptive, so now she's got to come back down, put her feet on the ground, and answer the question. So
No, I appreciate that. It's work ethic and mental toughness, mental focus. I value that. It's understanding that we're all created with purpose. And so within your mindset, understanding that you have purpose and your whole purpose is to be the best self that you can be, so then you can share that with the world.
okay.
You have been heard said that doing the difficult right isn't popular, but you have to do it. Could you unpack what the difficult right is?
Goodness, the difficult right over the easy wrong. I work in a space right now where I have some people, we have rules governing transfer, governing how we do things within educational-based athletics. And you have some people or some parents who, they want to move and shop their student around to be maybe on the best team or get in the best situation, but there's rules around that. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it's setting the tone and expectation, helping our parents understand that the minute you decide to transfer, your student becomes ineligible for varsity level sports. And so not just with that statement, but then having my parents come back sometimes and say, but what about this? Or what about that? What if I said this? It's like
they become ineligible if they previously played varsity.
No, if you played anything.
But I'm saying, what if they didn't play on a team at all? They just went to school and then they transferred. They wouldn't be ineligible, would they?
No, you wouldn't be ineligible. But if you did participate, I have those that participate in, football, basketball, soccer, whatever it is, and then they transfer to another school. Well, you can play JV level, but varsity level, you're ineligible.
So is that to stop coaches from pilfering other teams?
It's to stop that, and also, I would have never thought of transferring out of Rainier Beach High School. Now, I spent a lot of time at
That's because you were starting.
I spent a lot of time at Garfield. I spent a lot of time at Franklin to visit, let's just say. But I would have never thought to transfer, and those were state-level programs, from track to basketball to soccer. Those are the sports I played. But I would have never thought to transfer. We got beat, you get better. Mm-hmm. That's not the mindset anymore. You get beat, okay, well, maybe you go to that team and transfer so then you could be on a winning program.
That's what happens at the college level. That's what they see among the pros. I mean, they see LeBron chasing championships and others to where they just jump. So you don't try to build something where you are. You just try and you microwave it.
And so that's the quick fix. But you and I both know that doesn't last. And so where are you rooted and what is your value? And are you willing to build something? When things get tough, what do? Run? Then how do you develop resiliency?
They don't. They run. Isn't that millennial mentality? Isn't that, I was talking to one of the young adults in this church and asked him how their job was going. He said, I'm not there anymore. I said, why not? He said, you never stay any place over 3 years. I said, huh? He said, over 3 years? So I'm just trying to process the fact that if you never stay any place over 3 years, then number one, you never develop an enduring relationships. You're constantly starting over. You never really connect with people. Everything's transactional, and even people are a means to an end.
And that almost appears to be the culture of our nation at this point, right? We're unhealthy. And the challenge of that is people don't have the stick-to-itiveness, the commitment level. If I don't like something, I just leave. Well, what are you learning from that? And so for me, again, it's mindset. Are you willing to stick in, to work hard, and to see the fruits of your labor.
I know this ain't what we're talking about, but I'm just my mind is just thinking, man, what must dating be like in today's world where no one sticks to it and you just bounce? I'm 63, so I have no idea what they're doing, but that's a whole nother conversation.
No comment.
I'm stressed just thinking about what that must be like if those are the values.
Well, and you think about it, the minute that someone gets angry about something, do you have the ability to say, even though I'm angry, I say I care about this person. So what am I willing to do? Can I gain understanding? And right now, people, they're so quick to dismiss. It's the cancel culture.
Yeah.
And I'm not about cancel culture. I'm about canceling that culture and recognizing the value of people, because we all have our own value. And recognizing as individuals, that's what we're supposed to do. What is your purpose? What is your strength? We all have gifts. And your role is to build up those gifts so then you can be your best self. Like Michelle Obama said, constantly becoming a better version of yourself. Mm-hmm. What are we doing? And in becoming a better version of ourselves, then we can help those around us and we can build up a better community. Mm-hmm. Our community is struggling right now.
Yeah. To be community, common unity.
Last question. This one is talking about the youth leagues that are here today. How is the competition with the youth leagues or the pay-per-play leagues affecting high school or school sports right now?
I participated in AAU basketball growing up, and it was in its very early stages. The beauty of that, I participated in AAU with basketball, soccer, and track, but I also participated 4 years in basketball, soccer, and track, so I have 12 varsity letters. I think how it's hurting is that parents believe that if I pay money and invest this money in training for my young person, then it's going to pay off for college later. That's not the case. You're paying, and these AAU communities, they're getting so much money, and they're telling you exactly what you want to hear. Mm-hmm. And you don't realize you're paying to be told exactly what you want to hear. Mm-hmm. They're not going to tell you your kid is...
He sucks. He sucks.
And they won't say, oh yeah, we're really working and they're getting this. But they can barely walk and chew gum. And you're saying, oh, okay, so let me put more money. And the cost of these programs, $2,500 a year, or a season, $4,500 a season, from soccer to basketball to volleyball to football, all of these different things. And if parents just across the board would stop paying for this and start investing in educational-based athletics or community center programs, we would be in a better way. Those programs will go away. College coaches, they come to recruit. Yes, they go to AAU tournaments, but they also come to high schools. Mm-hmm. They also go to the schools to watch what you're doing, because you're going to represent their school one day.
Talent always shines. If it's dark, if that bulb is lit, you're going to see it.
Absolutely.
You can look at some kids and at 7 years old, he ain't never going to be no good, not at this. And some kids, just saying good morning, you could say, oh, that's a singer. It's just there. Mm-hmm. How often do you find that the problem is the parents, for whatever reason, they're thirsty about their kids being something? Because I even see it here in the church sometimes. They have a child that they're convinced is a star. The kid don't want no part of it. Mom and daddy is forcing their dreams through them. And, I call them little Bronnies. And, but if you got a father that's thirsty to fulfill a dream for himself and to put his kid in brutal spotlight where his deficiencies are going to show, to me, that was a form of child sacrifice. And I would tell LeBron to his face, you never should have did that to your child, because you're setting him up for pain from which he'll never recover. But I see at a much smaller and more intimate level, parents pushing their kids to be something that they're not, and they don't even want no part of.
And that, what you just said, Here's the thing. We know that when you put that time and energy in, we have stories like Venus and Serena. We understood what their father did, or Tiger Woods and what he did, that dedication. But the one thing that I think our parents fail to realize is the kids wanted to do that too.
Yeah, and they were good.
And they were good.
Yeah.
They wanted to participate. They wanted to put that time in. They wanted to do those things. And so when you have a young person who wants to do that, then you nurture it,
Yes.
right? But at the same time, when you have a young person that you're putting this money into, say, basketball, well, how do you know they're not a good baseball player?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know they wouldn't be a great tennis player or a soccer player? Because you're only focused on one thing, and they're in the 4th grade or 5th grade, and that's the only thing you focus on. Stop that. It's not for them. And not only that, but at 15 years old, you're burnt out. That's a problem.
Mm.
That's a problem.
Now, I would really hate to see the high school experience, even the junior high. Intramurals would be fine for me for junior high. But high school without sports, to me, that's not high school, because when you start talking about building school pride, which is part of the high school experience, the outside of the classroom, what's the connective tissue? I remember at Lincoln, Mr. Stewart, when he was our principal there, it was before, every Friday we had a pep rally.
Yes.
For football games, the weekend basketball games, and we all went into the gym. The cheerleaders came out. We had a group of white boys called the Unknown Musicians. They put bags on their heads. They were a fake rock band. And the black folks, we had drill teams and stuff we did, and it was all fun. And that was the funnest part of the week, the games, the dances in the old gym after the game. But that was, again, it was playing off the game itself, so many of the relationships that you establish. Sports becomes the gathering point for just being community and making friends and all those memories. If you take sports out of high school, it's just the grind. That's not high school, is it?
It's not high school as we know it, okay? And one thing athletics does, it brings people together, because
Yeah.
you think about it, what are you representing? You're representing your school.
That's right.
School demographics can,
That's my Olympics.
exactly. And so having that opportunity, whether you're on the court, whether you're a fan in the game, whether you're coming to be a cheerleader, it does not matter, because when you're rooting for your team, everyone has one common goal, no matter what you look like. We're all in this space together to see our team be successful.
Yes.
And it's a happy space.
Have you ever been to Lincoln Bowl?
Track, absolutely. Star
Okay.
track.
But have you ever seen a football game there?
I have not.
Okay. Because of where the locker room is, the football team comes down that hill, that big hill. The visiting team, there's a clubhouse on the field. They would have to hold and wait while we ran down the hill. We ran down the hill. And let me tell you, as a sophomore, when I made now I sat the bench as a sophomore, because we had almost 2,000 students. It was competitive. You didn't touch the field till your junior year, and some not till their senior. But wearing that uniform, as the band would do a drum roll, the opposing team is pausing, and you running down, you looking down on them. You come down that hill, man, you talking about feeling like the alpha males. That was a charge, right? Even if you didn't play a second running down that, you look like a Heisman Trophy winner running down that hill. That, to me, is the stuff of high school and memories, and the stuff when you get our age, when you look back on. You ain't remembering that day in geometry class.
No. You're remembering the times where you came together, the times we had a parade down Rainier Avenue. Absolutely, our homecoming.
Yes.
Yes.
You can't have homecoming if you don't have no football.
Oh,
There's nothing even to have the homecoming
no.
about.
No, we had a homecoming down Rainier and a big bonfire. How about that? And so you look at those moments and what it is that you're celebrating. And it's your athletic team, but it's also the spirit of being part of this school environment.
Yeah.
All right. And athletics sometimes is the nugget to get kids, young people out of bed and the motivation to be there. And it's not a guarantee. I tell everyone athletics is a privilege, not a right. Your education, you have a right to your education, but you earn the privilege to play. And in that, you also learn about adversity. You also learn about heartbreak. You also learn about overcoming. And then you learn about being triumphant and winning in the right way. Sportsmanship is huge. And responsibility, because again, it's earned.
Do they still line up and everybody walk by and shake hands after the game?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Because it's about sportsmanship. That person on the opposing side, they want exactly what you want. They want to win.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you don't have to be enemies. You don't have to hate. You don't have to be angry that, hey, this person, they outdid you or they outscored. You don't have to be angry because, again, you want the same thing. Yeah. Whenever you're competing, guess what you want? You want the W. But at the end, there's somebody with the W and somebody with the L.
November the 2nd, 1978, David Allen, Steve Burgess, Darren Witcher came over my house, stood on my front lawn and told me what they were going to do to me when Foss played Lincoln. And I said, I'm going to run all over you guys. We were selling wolf tickets. David Allen, his mother, Mary, and my mother went to Lincoln together, sang in the same choir at church. We were in first grade together, second grade together, third grade. We went to Geiger. He went to Wainwright when they started busing. We were at Hunt together. Then we went to different high schools. They came over my house talking smack the night before. And I ran all over them guys till the last play. I mean, we were talking smack during the game, yada, 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 yada. And telling them, man, hey, listen, tell your girlfriend I'll see her right after the game is over. I mean, we was talking smack. But when I broke my leg, and at first people thought I was faking it. It was David Allen that started screaming, trainer. He knew me well enough to know if I didn't get up, something was wrong. And he took his helmet off and he vomited. Because when he saw my leg bending where it wasn't supposed to bend, that was my lifelong friend, was the one who was screaming for the trainer, and he stood there and held my hand. My lifelong friend. So, and he was the first one at the hospital that night at St. Joseph Hospital, or Tacoma General, where they took me. And so, yes, sports is about where we come together, we make the memories, friends for life. I think it's so much a part of how we grow up. We learn lessons. We learn about delayed gratification. We learn that there's no gain without pain. Life lessons where, in my senior year, after I broke my leg in the fall playing football, in the spring I ran track and threw the discus. And I had a cast on up to here and then down to here for 6 months. And if anybody's ever had a cast on the leg, when you take it off, it hurts worse for a while because the cast was supporting it. So I was limping around, and I was on a track team because I was trying to get back in shape for football the next fall at UPS. And basically I was limping around and my leg hurt. And one day we were running hills, the weight men, and Coach Fullwider, who was the weight coach, and he taught it at Galt, I stopped. My leg was hurting. He said, you run to the top. Why'd you stop? I said, my leg is hurting. He said, so what? Run through the pain. I said, my leg is hurting. He said, oh, your leg hurts. Poor Leslie, his leg hurts. He said, you know they got a cell waiting for you right beside your brother and the other members of your family that's in lockup. And he said, oh, you want to hit me? Go ahead and hit me and see what they do to your black butt. This is a white guy talking to me. He said, you can spend the rest of your life talking about what hurts, or you can learn to run through the pain. It's your choice. I'm a white guy. They ain't doing nothing to me. But you, they waiting to lock you up unless you learn to stop making excuses and run through the pain. I was so mad with him. I had tears coming out my eyes, but I ran that hill. Years later, when I came back to UPS to speak for the King Day program, Mr. Fullwider was in the back crying because he was part of the reason why a coach, a white man, who loved this young black kid coming from a tough family and knew how to motivate me. I would hate to see high school without sports because he used sports to teach me you gotta press through. You gotta press through.
And that's what I tell my coaches. I say we can be dream builders or dream killers.
Yeah.
And my expectation of you, like you said, coaches, they played an important part in my life. Be a dream builder.
Yes.
Help these young people realize their goals and dream and realize it's more than just what's happening on the court. It's transferring that mindset to the classroom, to whatever it is that they're going to participate in. Give it 110%.
Yes.
Leave it all on the field. Leave it in the classroom. Leave it all out there. Be vulnerable enough to say, you know what, I don't know what I don't know, but I'm willing to try and give it the effort. And I'm talking not just, yeah, I guess so. No, 100% effort.
So what's next for you?
Oh, goodness. Well, I just started here. So how about getting in this and learning all that I can so I can share and so I can educate the community around me so they understand the rules out here, because I have a lot of people who's losing opportunity because they've moved their kids from one school to the other, and then their kid has to sit out for a year. And so making sure, one, setting the expectation and tone, educating my community about what is acceptable and what is not, because I'm part of the rule governing body now. And understanding those rules, it's tough. The WIA handbook, when you look at that, if you don't have an understanding or knowledge of what this means, you can interpret it anyway. Oh, maybe it means this. No, I'm here to tell you this is exactly what it means. And so like you asked me, when a student transfers, what does that mean? Well, they can still play. But if you participated in community center sports that year, you're not eligible. If you participate on any team, oh, absolutely. Any team, you're not eligible. Did you play AAU? Okay, you're not eligible.
Wow.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. I know our time is exhausted for today, but I got to ask you since I'm here. So we're in overtime, folks. Give us 2 minutes of overtime. What do you think about Caitlin Clark and what she said on yesterday and her impact on WNBA? Because I like her. I liked her. I was kind of throwing shade at her until they had the hand controversy, and when Angel Reese did it to her and White America went crazy, although they had no problem when Caitlin did it. But when they asked Caitlin about it, she said, no, I've done it, and we just competitors. And I said, okay, I like her. I like her because she didn't try to play Karen and get favor, and you give it, you take it, But yesterday in an interview, she explained her position, and she says, I'm making a lot of money and getting a lot of shine because I'm white. And I am now getting celebrity status in a league that was built on the backs of black women. That's what she said. And she said the league was made by the talents and so forth of black women. And I understand why I'm getting a lot of attention now. And I hope that everyone does better. But let's be clear, this league was built on the backs and the talents of black women who I admire and want to earn my stripes on the court. I said, see, every day, that's Larry Bird. That's the female Larry Bird. Yes. So when Isaiah came out and said, well, Larry getting attention just because he's white. And there were some people, I mean, that's why he got Rookie of the Year and almost a unanimous vote, even though Magic beat him the previous year, won the NBA championship, scored 42 points in Game 7 when Jab couldn't play. That's why Larry got the MVP. But for Isaiah to say Larry couldn't play, black people said, hold up, come on now. We ain't like them. We give the people they do. Don't say Caitlin can't play. But I like the fact that Caitlin understands she's getting white privilege, and she said it.
Absolutely.
My stock with her went way up. She ain't letting people use her to throw shade at the black players. And I want to believe that the black players who heard that interview yesterday will go, okay. Because she can't help being white. So don't blame her for what the MAGA crowd is doing because they come out to see her and wouldn't come out to see the sisters just as much. She's just balling.
Right. Absolutely. It's a different game. And she brought the stock up. The way she plays, we couldn't play like that 20 years ago. We'd be sitting on the bench. If we took those shots,
oh yeah.
That wasn't happening.
Well, if anybody but Steph took him 30 years ago, coach would have yanked you. Like, what the heck are you doing?
Exactly. So the mindset was different. The one thing I appreciate about Caitlin is that she's a baller. White, black, whatever, she's a baller, and she recognizes that, and she respects what came before her
Yeah.
and her role now. So, people put all this pressure on her, or they want to have this back and forth and compare and say, oh, well, it's a black-white thing, only because we say it is. It's a baller thing.
It's a baller.
It's a baller thing.
Once the game starts.
Exactly. And we have to look at our nation and recognize that our nation, there's these preconceived notions of, oh, well, now there's a white player and so this and that, but that's our nation's. That's the issue with the nation, not with her.
I had somebody say, yeah, my barber said, yeah, but the only reason why them wife would watch it, because she's on the court. I said, yeah, and the only reason why we started watching tennis because Serena and Venus, because I didn't care nothing about no tennis before then, didn't know the rules, but that cat suit and Serena.
Absolutely.
And didn't watch golf. I didn't watch Lee Trevino and Arnold Palmer, but Tiger Woods, I didn't know the rules there either. But I was watching the brother do it. So I can't get mad at other people for doing what they do when you finally see somebody look like you in an otherwise black dominated game. What I say is, if you think all these people packed out this stadium to see her, that's the time to have your best game, because guess what? They're going to see you too.
Thank you. Thank you.
And a rising tide lifts all boats, because the TV contract, all y'all going to get paid better. You better pray that girl don't get hurt, because she's feeding all of you. Use it to your advantage.
Thank you.
It's a business.
It's a business.
It's a business.
Yes.
If she brings out the crowd brings the money spends. Thank you so much, Tyra, for coming. Thank you for being my twin and trying to match up with me.
Absolutely.
You should have got you some Christmas socks as well. And thank you for y'all didn't see it, but she had to moisturize them ankles before she came on, because she knew we was gonna do a close up on the ash if she didn't come correct.
So wrong. So wrong.
I want to thank you for coming out tonight, and I know I'm gonna see you Christmas Sunday. It ain't this Sunday; it's the Sunday after. But you know you can come every Sunday, right?
I appreciate that.
Okay, you can sit next to your mama and your uncle, who's fabulous every Sunday. He be fabulous.
Yes.
Next week, my guest is going to be the Reverend Dana McClendon, the retiring pastor from the Greater New Bethel Baptist Church, who is writing next chapters in his ministry career just from a non-pastoral standpoint. So Reverend Dana is going to be here, and we're going to be talking about his journey and what's next for him. I'm excited about that. On Sunday morning, we invite you to come out in the third week of Advent, but Saturday afternoon, evening at 5 p.m., we have our Candy Cane Lane, our outdoor Christmas party with snacks and hot chocolate and hot apple cider and music and gifts for the kids of all ages, fake snow, caroling, and just a whole lot of fun. So come on out Saturday, 5 p.m. And our annual church meeting is also Saturday at 1 p.m. Right here. So until then, take care of your health, take care of your wealth, and remember, this is the most wonderful time of the year. I am your Christmas gladiator here at Christmas Central, bidding you all good night.
Thank you for joining Conversations with the Pastor here every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Listen, one small correction. The business meeting is at 12 noon on Saturday.
12 noon.
But thank you for joining us, and make sure you join us for church service on Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Have a blessed evening.
It's the year.